Round information,
Round knowledge.
Round facts.
and roundworms! Welcome to the world of parasites. Hello Philippines and hello world. Today we will be featuring one of the most commonly known parasites which is constantly infecting its human hosts. They are the nematodes. Nematodes are most commonly known as roundworms and they make up the phylum Nematoda. They fall under the kingdom Animalia because they are eukaryotic and multicellular organisms that take nutrients from organic sources. They are found in a wide range of terrestrial and marine environments wherein they could either live as free-living organisms or become parasites. One of the categories of nematodes which brought diseases to humans is station nematodes. They are Trichinella and Filaria. Giving news regarding Trichinella, KP, can you take over?
Thank you, Trisha. Trichinella spiralis, or another Trichinella species, is the roundworm that causes the infection called trichinosis or trichinellosis. Trichinella larvae live in the muscle tissue of animals, typically in pigs, wild boars, foxes, walruses, and other carnivores. People will develop trichinosis if they eat undercooked, uncooked, or unprocessed meat from an animal that carries the parasite.
When a person eats meats containing live trichinella cysts, the cyst wall is digested, releasing larvae that mature to adulthood and mate in the intestines. The females burrow further into the intestinal wall and produce larvae after several days. Production of larvae will continue for 4 to 6 months and are carried through the body's lymphatic vessels and bloodstream. The larvae penetrates the muscle, causing inflammation, and they can form cysts that can live for years in the body. Eventually, the dead larvae are absorbed or will be calcified.
As what I've said a while ago, trichinosis is the infection caused by Trichinella spiralis, and it is usually characterized by two phases. The initial phase, which is the intestinal or abdominal discomfort, diarrhea, heartburn, and nausea 1 to 2 days after ingestion. As for phase 2, it is characterized by muscle aches, itching, fever, chills, and joint pains 2 to 8 weeks after ingestion.
That's right, KP. And in addition to that, there can be splinter hemorrhages under the fingernails and eye inflammation or conjunctivitis. Trichinosis can be confirmed by blood tests that show elevated levels of eosinophils and antibodies to the parasite and biopsy of muscle tissue.
And trichinosis mostly have minor symptoms that do not require treatment. But if intense symptoms persist, thiabendazole, albendazole, and mebendazole can be used to treat the symptoms. And if there's inflammation, prednisone is given. And as the saying goes, an ounce of prevention is better than cure. Trichinosis can be prevented with simple aseptic techniques. Thoroughly washing the hands before and after preparing raw meat and cooking the meat thoroughly. Pat, do you have any reports that show occurrence of trichinosis here in the Philippines?
Thank you, KP. No reports about trichinosis were found in the Philippines for the last 5 years. But India has the case that we needed to show the real-time infection of trichinosis to humans. It came from the Department of Orthopedics in PGINER in Chandigarh, India. The 12-year-old female patient is reported to have fever and pain in the right thigh, intermittent febrile episodes with no diurnal variation, or associated chills and rigor. 2 days after the onset fever, the patient had reported pain and swelling in the right distal thigh, with restricted movement. Her right knee due to pain, and patchy red rash is seen over the front and medial aspects of the thigh. Tests taken to confirm trichinosis are blood culture, MRI, X-ray, serology tests, and histopathologic examination. Following the diagnostics, treatment includes 4 weeks of empirical intravenous cloxacillin along with ceftriaxone following surgical drainage and debridement. 2 weeks of continuous administration of oral cephalosporins followed and oral mebendazole was given per day for a period of 14 days to cover the trichinella infection.
Thank you, KP and Kat, for delivering to us the latest information regarding Trichinella and trichinosis. Next up, Filaria or filarial worms. Kat, can you please explain to us who are these organisms and what do they do?
Yes, Trisha, filarial worms consists of groups of blood and tissue nematodes, which are thread-like worms that reside and infect the blood vessels, the lymph nodes, and the tissues. So, there are 4 tissue nematodes which are considered as the major etiologic agents that causes filariasis or filarial lymphangitis, onchocerciasis, and luasis, respectively. Wucheria bancrofti, Brugia malayi, Onchocerca volvulus, and Loa loa, which are members of the family Filariodea.
The adults of this species were able to live for years in the subcutaneous tissues and lymphatic areas in which they discharged their offspring called as microfilariae. Once this offspring matured, it will now transform into a filariform larvae and is now capable of producing infections. Filarial worms all undergo the same life cycle. They just differ in the methods of infection because of the different arthropods that act as vectors for the diseases to be transmitted. According to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, during a blood meal, the infected mosquito introduces a third-stage filarial larvae into the human host which they penetrated into via a bite wound. This larvae will develop into adults that commonly reside in areas of the lymphatic system. These adults will produce microfilariae that is sheeted and varies in periodicity depending on the tissue nematode involved. The microfilariae migrate into the lymph and enter the bloodstream, thus reaching the peripheral blood. Once a mosquito ingested the microfilariae during a blood meal, it will lose its sheets and work their way through the wall of the proventriculus and cardiac portion of the midgut to reach the thoracic muscles. There, the microfilariae will develop into a first-stage larvae subsequently, and it will develop into a third-stage larvae. Finally, the third-stage larvae migrate through the hemocoel to the mosquito's proboscis and can infect another human when the mosquito takes a blood meal.
As said a while ago, filarial worms vary from the vectors that carry them. For Wucheria bancrofti, mosquitoes transmit the parasite and that vary geographically. Anopheles for Africa, Culex quinquefasciatus for America, and Aedes and Mansonia for the Pacific and Asia. For Brugia malayi, Anopheline mosquitoes and mosquitoes from the genus Mansonia transmit the infection. Black fly from the Simulium is responsible for the transmission of Onchocerca volvulus, and for Loa loa, deer flies, also known as mango flies or mangrove flies of the genus Chrysops.
That's right, Kat, and each of the transmitted parasites have distinct manifestations for their own infections. Onchocerca volvulus causes onchocerciasis, also known as river blindness. It can cause pruritus, dermatitis, onchocercomata or subcutaneous nodules, and lymphadenopathies. The most serious manifestation are the ocular lesions that can progress to blindness. Lastly, Loa loa causes the infection called loiasis. Most people having loiasis don't have symptoms, but infection with the parasite can cause repeated episodes of itchy swelling of the body, also known as calabar swelling, which can be seen in the arms, legs, and near the joints. Eyeworms are also manifested.
And in order to confirm the manifestations, series of laboratory diagnostics are done. The different tissue nematodes each have a particular periodicity in which their microfilariae are specifically present of the disease. Wucheria bancrofti has a nocturnal periodicity of microfilariae. Therefore, thick and thin blood smears must be collected at night. This is also the same for Brugia malayi. As for Loa loa, it has a diurnal periodicity of microfilariae, but most of the time, the adult worm will always be seen passing through the eye of the host. Blood smears, CSF urine, and sputum may reveal the presence of microfilariae, but most identified by the calabar swelling or visualization of the worm in the eye. Onchocerca volvulus, on the other hand, has no periodicity, and microfilariae mature in the subcutaneous tissue of humans. Biopsy or skin snips can confirm the presence of this microfilariae. By standard method for diagnosing the active infection of filarial lymphangitis, microscopic examination of the samples and smear is done. Testing for microfilariae antigen and serology can confirm the infection. Scrotal ultrasonography can also reveal adult worms in the lymphatic vessels in males. For onchocerciasis, diagnosis is made by counting the microfilariae that emerge from a skin snip or biopsy that is soaked in saline and through serological testings. For luasis, diagnosis is made by isolating adult worms from the subcutaneous or subconjunctival tissues, finding microfilariae in filtered blood samples, or obtaining positive lower serology. Surprisingly, treatment via medications of antihelminthics and antibiotics is the most effective way of eliminating the infection caused by a parasite. For Wucheria bancrofti, albendazole, ivermectin, and diethylcarbamazine are given. For Brugia malayi, doxycycline, ivermectin, and diethylcarbamazine are administered. For Onchocerca volvulus and Loa Loa, ivermectin and diethylcarbamazine are administered respectively.
In preventing the following parasites to incur infection to its human hosts, aside from the use of antihelminthic agents and antibiotics, avoidance of mosquito bites by the use of repellent, protective clothing, and bed nets are proven to be effective for prevention. Currently, there are no vaccines that are rendered effective for these infections. And to bring to us the local reports of the occurrence of the infection here in the Philippines, here is Kat.
Thank you, Tricia. Brugia malayi infection is endemic to the southwestern parts of the country, namely Palawan, Sulu, Agusan, and Samar. Both forms of filariasis coexist in only 4 provinces: Davao Oriental, Palawan, Eastern Samar, and Surigao del Sur. Brugia malayi was first confirmed in the Philippines in 1964. In Palawan, 33.1% local prevalence at that time. 43 of 63 provinces were endemic for filariasis in 1960. 45 of 77 provinces as of 1996. In 1984, 20 million people were considered at risk for filariasis, both Wucheria bancrofti and Brugia malayi in the Philippines. The local vectors are Mansonia uniformis, Mansonia bonea, and Mansonia divus, all found in Palawan. That's all. Back to you, Tricia.
And here we have it, delivering to you the information you needed. Once again, I am Tricia Valdez,
Katrina Uy,
and Patricia Vertudasco.